Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of EFL Teacher Talk with Sean G. I am Sean Gallagher, your host for the Kinda Weekly talk show about all things EFL. And today's topic, we have three, count them, easy ways to get your students talking in class. Yay, this is a wonderful thing. This is something that recently we've been doing training here at the school, and we had some teachers who are trying to figure out, what they're doing in class. I think a big part of VFL, I think, is student production. I think there's no way that kids there's no way that your students can learn the language, can learn English without them actually producing the English. I think especially in a country like Japan, where people are usually a little bit shy, a little bit on the shyer side. Maybe they don't want to talk and they're kind of quiet in class, or they don't want to, not look cool in front of their friends or something like that. I think there's a lot of things kind of moving against students speaking in class. So I thought I would make a video about 3 easy ways to get your students talking in class. These are techniques that we use here at the school, and I've just found them to be very effective and want to share this with everybody. Okay, so number 1, what is our goal? Our goal, of course, is to increase student talking time. We want the students to be speaking a lot in class. I believe that English language learning, it's a mental as well as a physical process. On the physical side, they actually need to articulate the words. They need to use their vocal cords and get the sounds out to try and make the words and everything. So we really want to increase student talking time in class. And another thing that we're going through in our training here is in your class. And let's say that you're trying to talk to your class and you're engaging your class. How do you know when you've aimed a little bit too high, or when you've asked a question and it's not working? There's a really good way that you know that. Yeah, silence, right? Exactly. So if you ask a question, I think everybody's been there. I mean, I was there, this week. Everybody's been there. You throw out a question, you ask a question to the class, and you get absolutely nothing back, right? You get absolute silence. So I think this is a way to kind of gauge maybe when you either need to re-hit the question, or maybe you need to make it a little bit easier. I think here at the school, one thing that we always do for training with our teachers is when you're engaging with your students, you want to try to use that zone of proximal learning wherever they are currently at their skill level, and you want to be engaging with them just one step beyond where they currently are. You don't want to go +1, you don't want to go +5, you don't want to go +10, because you'll lose them and you'll get a lot of that silence. So anyway, so some different, how exactly do we get students talking? So these are the 3 things I have over here. The most basic level of this is just simply repeating, right? I think it's rather boring to say, hey, repeat after me, this is a dog. Okay, I think that's your students are gonna want to jump out the window if you do that. But just having the students repeat something I say is a great way to, at least right at the beginning of the class, especially when I'm doing my intros. I think it's a great way just to prime the pump. Let's get some talking. Let's do some really easy stuff. So I might start. A lot of times I might start my elementary first year, second year class. I might just say hello, 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 and I kind of it's a bit rhythmic. There's a little bit of a beat to it, and I might even clap my hands. Hello, 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 right? And then when you hear that, I think a lot of times kids want to respond, and most oftentimes they'll be like hello, 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 like back at me, and voila, you're speaking now. And so that's like the very, very most basic level, is you might say something rhythmic that the kids can just repeat. This could be a word or a phrase, or 2 words or something like that. So beyond that, again, at the beginning of class, when I'm still using repeating over here as my strategy for getting students speaking, I might just, start walking around the classroom and pointing to different things in the classroom. We have a poster of a teacher. We have some digraph posters, and there's a teacher and a cow and stuff like that. I might point to the teacher and say, okay, everybody, can you say, I'll say, my name is Sean, and I am a teacher. And I say it like that, right? And I'm going to say, hey, can you say teacher? And a lot of times they'll repeat, teacher. Say, nice teacher, nice teacher. You are a nice teacher. You are a nice teacher. Or of course, now you're giving the kids an opportunity to flip it and say, you are a bad teacher. Which is kind of the next stage, is when you give them a sentence to say, you are a nice teacher. They could just repeat that, or they could put their own idea into the sentence. And, I think in my classes, the kids know that I like to joke around with them quite a bit. So they, a lot of times, everything's bad with me. It's kind of like, being married. But whatever, if I say I'm the nice teacher, then, they want to say, no, you're the bad teacher, or you are a stinky teacher, or something like that. And I really encourage that type of banter and that type of talk, because now the kids are constructing little sentences with me, right? We're having these little, they're giving me a hard time in English, which is great, because they're producing the language, they're constructing sentences. At least they're doing substitutions of sentences that I'm giving them. That's a great step in the right direction there. So something like that. So using some ridiculous sentences. We also have a visual of a bone. I'll say bone, bone. Okay, everybody, please repeat. I don't have a bone, right? And of course, and some kids say it like, I don't have a bone. And then I'm like, oh, you're a pile of mush. You don't have any bones. So anyway, those are all some different techniques that you can use with repeating. So something that's kind of lyrical, or you can give a ridiculous sentence that they might do a substitution drill on. Those are some great ways to get your students speaking using a repeating technique. Number 2 over here, I think the next easiest thing for kids to do, here, let me put 1.5. 1.5 over here is to ask the kids a question with a dichotomous answer. So a lot of times, how are you? Right? Hey, how are you? And kid says, oh, I'm sleepy. So I might follow up with, are you a little sleepy or very sleepy? And I've given them 2 answers to choose from, right? So it's pretty easy for them to just grab one of those and spit it back at me. They'll say a little sleepy, or very sleepy, or whatever. So I think that's another. It's not quite repeating, but it's kind of this A/B testing, kind of this dichotomous answer where you might give 2 choices, but I verbalized both of those choices. So it's quite easy for the kids to answer that, right? They just have to grab something that I've already given them and say it to me. But again, voila, they are speaking. So this is a good thing. Number 2 over here, I think the next easiest thing is a yes/no question, right? It's not that hard to, for an are you, a can you, a do you, something with a yes/no answer to it. It's not really that hard to answer that, right? Whatever, are you happy? They could say yes or no. That's another technique that you can use to kind of get kids speaking. I think the most difficult thing that we ask our students to do is when we ask information questions, right? These are our WH questions. What is it? Where are you from? Just things like that. Because they have to generate the entire answer by themselves, right? They have to listen to your question, they have to understand it, they have to figure out how they're going to respond to it, right? And of course, I think WH questions are obviously great. They're multifaceted. They're very deep. It shows a very deep level of understanding on the student's part. But sometimes what I'll see in class is I'll see maybe a novice teacher, somebody without a whole lot of experience, walk into a class and immediately start hitting kids with these very difficult WH questions, right? it's hard to answer a WH question. It's, for all the reasons I just said. So what I like to do is I like to warm them up with some of the easier stuff first, do some repeating, maybe some of these say some silly questions, silly sentences that they're repeating, and then they're doing a substitution drill. I might give them some dichotomous answers. I might do some yes/no questions, and then I might work my way up to working with WH questions. So that is about it. I think it was a pretty short one today. Where are we? How'd we do on time? Oh, hey, not 13 minutes. It's 10 minutes and a half. So yeah, so that's about it today. I think the important thing to remember about this is that there are, when you ask a question and you're getting silence back, I think if in your head you have an idea of, hey, these questions are easier than these ones, or these questions are harder than these ones, if you can understand kind of the spectrum of the difficulty of questions, I think it's really easy when you do overshoot, and everybody does. You forget who you're working with sometimes, and you ask it too hard of a question, and you get silence back, and then you just need to scale it back and maybe build up from some easier questions, and then you probably will be able to go back in and ask your WH question that you wanted to ask to begin with. But anyway, so this is just a framework to go from kind of easy to middle to hard so that you can get your classes speaking. And not just this mindless, memorization of answers, to be speaking and truly communicating with you, because I think that's where we really all want to be. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. And until next time, I hope you have an awesome day, awesome week of classes. And until next time, we are signing out. Stop recording.